We were sitting, nobody knew him. And even his neighbors did not know him. So together with our friends, I went to search for him, and we got the address, and they said that no, nobody here is here. Nobody's here, and after, again, we went to the students, they said, no, this is the address. So we thought that perhaps those people, the neighbor, are mistaken, they do not know him. And we were true. We went and knocked, and he came, said, are you so-and-so? He said, yes. So they were very, very knowledgeable. The students are very great sages, and we read some textbook. I mean, they're very humble people, very learned people. The person saying he had studied with many great sages, He lived with what he had read. You see, philosophy was lived philosophy, not only studied, something he had studied and conceptual, you see. And you still you might find here and there some people like that. So we need more light. Where is light? Divine light. Hidayah. Otherwise you have many books, but still Hidayah is missing. Where is Hidayah? You have libraries, 30,000. Is this enough for Hidayah? No, perhaps. Hidayah, divine Hidayah.
وتنظر في الكتب لا تستفيد وعنك مصنفها يخبر. But Ezra had a question.
I hope by this question I don't reveal my own ignorance, but I was interested in how you talked about Ghazali promoting an ilm al-adwaq.
Ilm al-adwaq. He mentioned ilm al-adwaq. Adwaq is plural of dhaw, tasting. He mentions this in relation, connection with Urafa. Their ilm is a special kind of ilm, which is ilm al-azwaq. This is the first time used, perhaps. Ilm al-adwaq.
Which is disassociated from aql.
Now, ilm al-adwaq, he calls it tawrun wara'i tawr al-aql. It's not aql. It's beyond the aql. Right. I said that it's not beyond aql. It's aql itself. Nothing is beyond aql.
So I was interested in, you hear people writing about Islamic philosophy in the West saying that not only was Al-Ghazali wrong in dismissing philosophy, but he was disingenuous in doing so because he was disingenuous in establishing, in rejecting philosophy, because he himself uses philosophy to construct his system and to establish something like ilm al-adwaq. And I was wondering whether you thought he was wrong or disingenuous or both.
No, he was right in a certain sense, because his Ihya al-Ulum, his other books, is very influential, very good. Very good. Ihya al-Ulum I read, and his other books, I have a collection of his works in my house, and from every now and then I read them. I like them. But only this one, my emphasis, because I'm talking about philosophy, I should not talk about the other aspects. It was very great in reviving. And also, he made ilm al-azwaq enter into the mainstream, because it was forbidden. It was restricted to Urafa. He made it enter into the mainstream of Islamic philosophy. It's very good, because he made it popular by writing different books. And that's very great. But since I'm talking about philosophy, and I've always been thinking, his excommunication of philosophers. People of such a standard, of such great length, and it was very influential up to now. And still, he banned philosophy. You see, in many, as Muslim, as a result of the influence of Ghazali's influence, you never had philosophy. Philosophy was banned forever from the soil of Islamic, except in Iran. Iran is the genius of Iranians, that they produced him, but they were not. You see, they had other figures also, but they were not. Let's say it was not continued. Immediately came Sohrawardi, immediately there came Khaja Nasir Tusi and many others, Otuddin Shirazi, many others. They even did not deign to answer him because they were philosophers and they wrote their philosophy and they kept philosophy alive.
So I guess let me reframe my question. If Ghazali did provide us with this ilm al-adwaq and popularized it on a broader scale, what need do we still have for philosophy if we have this alternate methodology which might provide us with the exact same level of understanding and perhaps even a superior level of understanding?
You see, this goes back to the role of reason of man. Reason was not generated or created by Ghazali, created by God from eternity. This problem is one problem which was raised by Ghazali. Man. When I am talking, I'm having discourse. Discourse is reason. All right? Any discourse is reason. Any statement, proposition you say is reason. And this is a mistake that many people in the West do not understand, even philosophers do not understand. To make any judgment is a function of reason. You cannot make a judgment by your senses. Sense is like a camera, shows you something, the phenomenon of something. But making a judgment, any judgment, is the work of reason. So when I'm talking, is my reason working? All right? So every time in our daily life, we have to do with reason. Their daily routine work. In sciences, it's all reason. You see, in science make experiments, make judgments and things. But ilm al-azwaq is only for a few. No people can reach ilm al-azwaq. Who can reach? One among a million. A true ilm al-azwaq, as Avicenna said, Jalla janab al-haq an yakuna شرعة لكل وارد أو يطلع عليه إلا واحدا بعد واحد. That is Janab Haq is infinite. Jalla is much sublime and more transcendent, that to be the drinking place for every drinker. Everybody comes to drink. Shara is a place where you drink water. لكل وارد, he who goes to drink water. And yattala alayh, and he should be known except one after one. There is one in every age. Really, that's ilm al-azwaq. It's not something like you go to the grocers and say, please, one, let's say, kilo of ilm al-azwaq, and everywhere it is. It's not so. It's one very few. Very few. But this discursive knowledge is for everybody. That is very few. So, I mean, it's not philosophers do that. You need in sciences, and you use it every day, this discursive. But that is very few. And on that basis, come and, let's say, excommunicate on the basis that somebody has reached there, or he has reached, I don't know if he reached, inshallah he has reached there himself. Make it, and on that basis to excommunicate, it's a little bit zulm.
It really does raise the question whether he had that much rarefied personal dhawq himself. Most Sufis have always talked about Ghazali as a theoretician who was burdened with his conceptualizations and could never shake himself free of them. And unlike his younger brother, who was a very important Sufi teacher and whose name appears in the silsila of the Turuq, Abu Hamid never appears as a teaching master in the silsilas of the Sufi Turuq, but he was a theoretician who defended the place of Sufism in Islamic civilization and made it acceptable and respectable, rather than being some kind of a strange practiced by half-demented people who were uqala al-majaneen and malamatiya and other types of people who drew censure, but rather it became a respected intellectual and spiritual path through his efforts. And whether he himself had attained a great deal, I don't know. I've read remarks by other Sufis.
Oh, there's a question asked by a student of the other Ghazali, you see. This was a question posed, this question, whether he had attained or not. You see, Ahmad Ghazali's brother had a student, Ainul Ghazat. Ainul Ghazat was a student of Ahmad. And Ahmad used to go to him, you see, and has praised him very much. So this is a problem for Ainul Ghazat, that whether he has attained or not. And he said, somewhere, I have read it, I have not seen myself. Of course, I've read his books, but this, I had a quotation somewhere, that a quotation that one night had a vision that he had attained. After many years of wonder about this, I had a vision that he had attained. But in any case, it was a problem for him.
It's like that story that he used to go to see Omar Khayyam in Nishapur, Al-Ghazali. He would go late at night secretly and take lessons from him in philosophy. A great Hakim.
This is very symbolic, that he would do everything of that so secretly, but externally he would know.
He was leaving, so Omar Khayyam told his servants, go to the roof and take the pots and pans and bang them loudly to wake everyone up. So then the people came out in the street. It was just Fajr, and they saw Al-Ghazali going home quickly, not to be seen. And Omar Khayyam laughed and pointed to say, there he is. He doesn't want you to know that he comes to me to study falsafa at night. Whether it's apocryphal or not, it's a kind of story meant to teach you something. That he was attracted to philosophy, but felt the common cultural disapproval of it was so strong that he didn't want to be identified with it. He did it kind of secretly.
But his studying of philosophy is very, very peculiar. He says himself, in Munghazum min az-Zalal, he described how he has read philosophy, which is I paid attention to that. When you read books, you should pay attention to the words. He said that I read, even if I was very busy with many other works. He said this, a person is very busy for other works, cannot do philosophy. I was very much busy with other works. So I read philosophy at night during 3 years. He has an expression, in stolen time. I've forgotten this word, في أوقات مختلسة. مختلسة means robbed. Means from here and there, when I had time, I studied them. So his reading philosophy was random reading, not with a teacher. But philosophy, it's very dangerous to teach philosophy without a teacher. Any science, you cannot become a great mathematician by yourself. Might read something, but you should have teachers. So, في أوقات مختلسة, which mentions robbed moments, and it's very rare moments which I was not busy.
So if you believe him, or whether that was a little disingenuous to impress upon you how brilliant he was, that just in a few hours here and there, in a few years, he could master falsafa. Yeah. What a brilliant man he was. It's a little bit self-serving. I think you have to take it with a grain of salt.
But in any case, this is very telling, because it says, في ثلاثة, he says 3 years. I mean, layali, I was very busy, he said, very busy, but it أوقات مختلسة means robbed moments. Means that he was not reading regularly. Of course, he went through, and recent work they have published, I saw, it is a patchwork. I mean, they have found a recent, Maqasid al-Falsafa is not the one we have. They have found a recent, and there was a report of it in Islamic Studies in the 24th volume. And I read it, somebody has discovered a new copy of Maqasid al-Mukhtalisa, much larger than this one, about 10 times as big. And the person's name I've forgotten, wrote a very, very good article, long article about this finding. And he had traced and found all his sources. And rightly they